Hi, I'm Ross.
And I'm Matilda.
And we are going to be talking about Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, the greatest sequel, I think, ever.
Potentially.
I mean, what makes a good sequel to you?
There's two ways you can look at it. Like, if there's a good first movie, a good sequel is like, does this keep the same energy and build and make the story bigger? And if the first movie is bad, a good sequel is like, wow, you took the spirit of the thing and managed to turn it into something actually cool.
Who would have ever expected that Mamma Mia 2 would ever happen, A?
Yeah, it was so long in between. It was like 10 years.
Yeah, and B, actually be good. This is a movie made for fans of the first movie, but what this movie has as a distinct advantage is that it was created to be a movie.
Yeah.
And not just an adaptation of a stage show.
Oh, life is short. The world is wide. I want to make some memories.
So the story of Mamma Mia 2 picks up 10 years after the first movie, with Sophie preparing for the grand reopening of her mother's hotel, while also exploring her mother's youth and how she came to meet the three men who may be Sophie's father. This movie is far better than it has any right to be. There is so much more effort and creativity and energy on display, not only in the filmmaking, but in the music production, in the performances, in just the general feel of it.
Nearly petrified cause she was taken by surprise.
Even the first musical number, which isn't even like the biggest one, has more choreography. Probably more choreography than the entirety of Mamma Mia 1.
It doesn't just feel like, you know, your drunk parents doing karaoke.
No, everyone had actual dance moves. Waterloo was like impeccably done.
Yeah.
The bread sword fight, the little tangos.
So many little touches in the middle of musical numbers that don't break the flow at all and add to the characters. Like, it's so impressive. It's so impressive how they put Mamma Mia 2 together, and I never expected to say that or think that.
No, yeah, 100%. And it makes me happy that the best musical number, at least production-wise, goes to Harry. I think it was good. I wanted Harry to get a big musical number, and they do a good job of telling that love story while not undermining the fact that Harry is not into women.
In your case, age becomes you.
You're not so bad yourself.
The young dads have the same problem the old dads have. Young Harry isn't as charming as old Harry.
Yeah.
And the casting of young Sam was very in line with Sam in the first movie in that he was boring and couldn't sing.
Yeah.
And had no character. What's he got? What's the sparkle? What's drawing you to this? This was the opportunity to show us the Sam that Donna fell in love with. But I think I'm not a 10 or anything myself. I'm well aware. You gotta make him hotter than that. You gotta.
That's fair.
Either make him ridiculously charming and keep that guy, but they didn't do that, or make him just an absolute smoke show. And they didn't do that either. And it's like, surely there were young hotties who would want to be in Mamma Mia 2.
Oh, surely.
In fact, we know there was at least one, because young Bill was there, and the biggest mistake this movie made, perhaps the only mistake it made, was making Bill so much more likable than everyone else.
If you love someone, you're willing to die for her.
Yeah, but you don't have to. It's an important distinction.
He was such a star. He was the only one on Lily James's level charisma-wise at all. Like, they were so good together. And that scene where he came back and he catches her, I literally loudly, audibly gasped. I'm not going to Mamma Mia 2 for tension.
Yeah.
I'm going to just be in a world where I'm like, yeah, everyone's charming, and I'm glad things worked out.
Yeah.
And what a charming young man doing a terrible Swedish accent that is.
Because the tone of it is generally so celebratory, like it's celebratory of itself, of Mamma Mia, of ABBA, it's so much easier to sink into that kind of, not conflict-free, but conflict-light story.
I'm beginning to think my soulmate may actually be carbs.
Then mine must be wine.
You would think it would get old, that everyone is charming, everyone is nice, everything is fun, but it doesn't. It just sucks you in. It's the kind of movie I wish I could see for the first time again.
Yeah.
Because I know that I'm never going to quite recapture that first time you see Mamma Mia 2. It's like Cats, but on the other end of the spectrum. A good sequel does not have to be like The Godfather Part 2. It doesn't have to be the best movie ever made. And I think best sequel conversations often get overshadowed by like, what sequel do you think is the best movie? And I wish people would go more into like the specific inter-franchise connectivity and comparison, because this and the first Mamma Mia, it's like night and day. This one looks way better.
Yeah.
It sounds way better. As a movie and as a sequel, this is an improvement in every single regard, which I did not expect Mamma Mia 2 10 years later to be. And I don't think anyone did, because even though people were excited for this, and, you know, a lot of it was ironic because, you know, it's Mamma Mia 2. Like, that's
They
inherently
also just
kind
had
of
one
silly.
of the best possible like sequel titles
True.
ever. Like
it's
just
built in.
handed to them.
Buenos dias.
Be still my beating vagina.
This is not trashy. It's not lazy. It's not obviously cashing in on something. It feels like a genuine passion project. In
And
a way.
it did feel like they took criticisms of the original and fixed them. And even for the continuity thing, they did a really good job of not like going into fan service or like there's only one movie they had to follow continuity wise. So like they could have just made everything exactly line up, like Cher being dead, or I don't know, Sam having the same hair as he did in the photo of the past, which honestly that change I think was probably for the worse.
Yeah, they should have stuck to that
They should have
look.
stuck with the handlebar mustache.
Thankfully, they left in the crucial overall scene.
This dress would look very pretty on.
You really don't know me at all, do you?
That was basically the most fan service we got.
Yeah.
Aside from the one bit where her friend sees Bill and is like, he's dreaming, I want to have his babies and I want to push him around in a wheelchair and someday commit assisted suicide with him. Like,
No, she says.
it's pretty
not the
much
line.
it.
My point is actually that I love him and I want to have his babies and eventually push him around in a wheelchair and scatter his ashes.
There is one specific moment of fan service that was completely unintentional, and it's where they have the Stellan Skarsgård twin brother bit, but he looks like the Baron from Dune, so that was fan service for me in the future.
The Venn diagram of diehard Dune fans and diehard Mamma Mia 2 fans, nah.
It's a circle, and I'm in the middle, baby.
You know something I forgot? That family is all that matters.
Every time I see Stellan Skarsgård in something, I'm like, how do I not always think about how good of an actor Stellan Skarsgård is?
Well, that's another thing. I think he's really good at never acting like he's too good for the thing he's in. Like, he's giving his all, but also it's just never embarrassing whatever he does because you just know he's cool.
I was told you couldn't come. Why the hell are you here?
I'm a spontaneous person.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not.
We talked about this last movie too, but like they met and immediately became like our favorite pairing. Like they immediately were like, they're friends. They're going to be friends and it's going to be a good friendship and they have a great vibe. And they're barely in the movie. And this one, I think they realized that that was a dynamic they should be cashing in on because they're in a lot more of the movie. Like everything they're in together.
Yeah.
Because even though they're still not major players, they knew that when you had one, you needed the other.
Yeah.
Like they were a duo.
Yin and yang.
They were yin and yang, absolutely. And so we get the Titanic scene, which was incredible. Also, the one scene where he ties Harry to the chair and he's like, is that too tight? And Harry like looks at him and like smolders and is like, no.
They've had that interaction with the chair
You've done
before.
this. This is banter that's been done. He tied that knot real smooth.
He
like-
knows just how Harry likes it.
Mes enfants, je suis arrivé.
Let's talk about Cher.
Talk about Cher, baby.
Let's talk about her and
Andy Garcia.
It should be said that Cher has been cast as Sophie's grandmother. So Cher is intended to be Meryl Streep's mother. Now, I'm sure the filmmakers were aware of this, but Cher is in fact 3 years older than Meryl Streep.
Fernando?
Hearing Cher sing ABBA is like the last thing I want.
I don't think it worked very well. This is
No.
unpopular. People love the Cher cameo. Who would you have cast?
Fucking Rita Wilson. Producer Rita Wilson. Why not?
And replace Andy Garcia with
Tom Hanks, of course.
You know, so if being a grudge holder makes you fat,
Mamma Mia doesn't have to make sense, which is what's nice
It's above
about it.
such things like logic,
Yeah.
reason.
But this movie is not dumb. And it could have been dumb. They
Oh, it could
do
have been
try
dumb.
to genuinely engage with like the stories and characters that were established and turn that into an interesting story for Donna. And I think Donna's story is fairly interesting. I think there is something to the half prequel, half sequel.
Yeah, I
sequel.
agree.
It reminds me of X-Men Days of Future Past. You put all the fan service stuff in the future with the actors people know. They don't have to do as much, but they do what you expect. The X-Men fight. the Mamma Mia cast sing and do Dancing Queen, and in the past you have the actual, story with the characters and the conflict.
Yeah.
And you make me show what I'm trying to conceal.
How do you break down perfection? How do you summarize perfection? Because this is exactly what it should have been. Mamma Mia is not about storytelling.
Yeah.
Mamma Mia exists as a vehicle through which you can absorb ABBA music with a slight amount of context. And just the fact that there was so much more context, so many more breaks between songs, so much more time to spend with these characters as characters, makes it not just a better movie, but just a better story. The first movie was going to be a hit either way, and this one was always going to make money, but they did not have to go this hard for Mamma Mia 2.
No, they really didn't. And Mamma Mia 2 did not need to do 90% of the things it did, but someone cared. Sometimes you can just feel that, and it's really nice to see.